everyone, Joe here. Just another update, really. I know it's been a while since we've made a video, but we've just found really that a day doesn't really have the time to do it actually. And even though we're both at home, we're all at home. You know, Danielle's having a therapy during the day, and that just wipes her out completely. I think one of the mistakes maybe we made was to show Danielle, you know, absolutely at her best in the last vlog that we made, and I think a lot of people thought that was sort of how she was generally, and actually that is a 5% of the day she's that sort of energetic and articulate, and you know, even doing that video at sort of 20 minutes of talking really wiped her out, and now that she's having speech therapy and physiotherapy during the day, and she also has other exercises and things to do, and just being here with Noah, and kind of just being at home and doing the normal things that you do when you're at home just really wipes her out. And actually I realised today that we need to make allowance for that. We need to make time for her to rest, and you know, we need to make that a priority. It's just something that I hadn't thought about really. So Danielle's asked me to just say a couple of things. You're gonna hear from her in a minute. A video she recorded a little while ago but didn't upload, and yeah, she just asked me to sort of update people. She's having a therapy at home, which is really hard actually. The physiotherapy stuff is really hard, and the speech therapy is difficult. It's the progress that she's making was amazing at the start. You know, day in day out she would make huge leaps forward, and now it's very gradual, very small, noticeable still, but very slight improvements, and that's very demotivating and frustrating, and quite upsetting for her. And I think really it's just kind of hitting us both that there is a bit of her brain that is gone. There is a chunk of her brain that is dead, and that's not coming back, and that's very uncomfortable to realise that's what's happened. That it isn't coming back. It isn't going to change, and any progress she makes from this point now is other parts of her brain coping with that deficit. So really how she is now, most of how she is now is her kind of basic state, and she has to learn to recoup some understanding. She's not recovering from a brain injury. This is the extent of her her ability right now, and the extent of her brain function right now. As I understand it, there is actually still some recovery, but the majority of her work now is getting other bits of her brain to compensate for the bit that's died. And you know, I don't know if you know about how much people know about what a stroke actually is, but that's what happens, and that's what causes the damage. Is either a leak in the brain, a bleed in the brain, or a blockage there causing lower levels of oxygen in the brain. And if that goes on for too long, the brain, that part of the brain that's blocked, dies. Danielle's been trying to get hold of the CT from Basildon to show you actually the size of the blockage and the extent of the brain that's affected. She was reading her discharge notes the other day, and well, this morning, and you know, it says there's no bleeds, which is great. You know, there's sort of immediately after she'd had that CT, the report on the post-op CT. You know, there's no bleeds, but yeah, there's a chunk of brain dead. And I think for us over this last week, that's been quite a difficult thing to come to terms with. Really, that there's a big, I mean, not a big, but a chunk of brain that's not just isn't coming back. That'll never work again, and is sitting in there dead. and that's very uncomfortable to think about and to be conscious of, that she's now trying to make up for that. So why don't I switch over to her? You can see Danielle talking. This is a video that she'd made. I think just to have said these things. Again, this is her in a really good state. This is her. She's this good. Very small amount of the day. She's this able to talk this articulately. A very small chunk of the day. But here she is anyway.
So about 6 weeks ago, I had a stroke. I was at work at the hospital, and it happened all of a sudden. I went all dizzy, and suddenly my speech stopped completely, and somebody whisked me off, and then my arm and my foot were dead. Nothing I could move or feel anything of, and I blacked out. I was taken to hospital at another one, and they gave a quick thing because there was a blood clot, and so they quickly took it out, and they did a brilliant job. At that time I couldn't talk at all, and I couldn't move my left arm or foot, but they'd fixed it quite quickly, and some parts of my brain are now dead where that clot was, and now my brain is trying to figure it out, trying to figure out how to get round it and still do things, and it's a little bit weak, and a few little problems. My biggest problem is trying to say everything, and I can't read properly. I can do better than I could. I can sort of read little messages. I can get the gist, and my writing is not good at all, even to write little sentences. So I guess it's doing really well. 6 weeks on, but it's really hard. It's really hard for all the things that I can't do, and all the things that it makes me so tired, and my little boy, my 5-year-old, I can't play with him normally, and sometimes I'm just tired. When I do, I don't have to do very much, and it feels like it's too much. Just clearing up the kitchen, and then I need to have a sit down. Sometimes there's a physio that comes, and that just tires me out, and then I can't go and even clear up the it's after that, because it's just got to sit down for a bit. So I sit at home but I see all the things that need doing, but I can't do it. And my little boy, I can't read his books. I used to read books to him all the time, and now he reads better than me at the moment. And that's hard. So it's good that it's getting better. It's good. It's getting better, but I'm so cross that it happened. Sometimes I'm so cross that everything's hard. But every day, I keep going and be better.
So there, a little bit of an insight into, you know, how Danielle's frustration and her feeling at the moment. I think just at the end there, you'll have heard Noah. I think he bumped himself as she was recording that, but just at the end there, before that, she said, you know, but every day I keep going and getting better. And I think there is a lot of frustration and there's a lot of fear about the future, and she's so tired all the time. And it's a really common thing with stroke, is that you know your brain ordinarily uses 40% of the energy that you take in, and her brain is using much higher percentage of the energy that she has, so she's exhausted most of the time. And but she is keeping on going. She isn't giving up, and I'm immensely proud of her. It is not easy for her at all. It's not easy for any of us, actually. You know, Noah finds it hard because he doesn't know really where he is. He doesn't really. He feels a little bit insecure, I think, at the moment, because there's this huge change that's happened in his household, and it's been, you know, 6 weeks or so. But and I suppose that's quite a long time for a young child. But even so, it's really unnerving for him. Anyway, he and I are struggling too, and it's a challenge. But as Danielle said, we keep going, and that's pretty much all you can do, is to keep going and to trust the people, the physios and the doctors and the psychologists and the stroke nurse and all the other rehab assistants and people that come in to help out with physio and speech therapy and stuff. You know, she is doing a lot of work every day. It doesn't really stop, and I am so proud of her. She doesn't understand why people call her brave or say that she's strong, because it's just so deeply part of her that you don't give up, that you carry on, that even when you're exhausted and when you're worn out and frustrated and doesn't feel like there's anything left, that you carry on. And she doesn't understand why people talk about that as being strong or brave. She doesn't see herself like that at all. And actually, it kind of irritates her when people say that about her. She's like, I'm not, it's just me. It's just... but I'm so immensely proud of her. You know, talking to her about how scared she was when this happened, and as she was going through this experience in hospital, she's been incredible. She has been amazing right the way through, and I'm so proud of her. Anyway, there's an hour and a half left of this year, and it has been a year during which something terrible has happened, and And what that means is, in 2019, that things will only get better. In 2018 has been a year of disaster, of bravery, of the most incredible love shown to us as a family and between us. And but I think it'll stand out as the year of disaster. And he's hoping and planning that 2019 will be a year of positivity every day, of moving forward, of change, of improvement, and the year that we start to do things differently. And as I've said many times, as I've made these videos, and those of you that have watched all of them will know this, we don't know what it looks like yet. Because we're still in the middle of trying to figure out how we do life, and how we do just the basics at the moment. But this year's going to be a year that we figure out a little bit more. Like I said, it's a year. You know, tomorrow is January the 1st, and by the time we get to this time next year, I hope that we'll be able to look back and say, well, wow, look how far we've come as a family, and look how far Danielle has come in that time. And that's a reasonable time frame for as complete a recovery as she's going to make. Given the amount of therapy that she's having, and will continue to have through this year. Hey, we found out today that actually they're reasonably confident that Danielle can be left alone for short periods of time. So tomorrow morning, I'm planning, and I might edit this out depending on whether I do it or not, but I'm planning tomorrow morning, January the 1st, to go for a run. I'm looking over there so that I just check that Danielle can't hear me. She's asleep. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now and leave you with some slow motion footage of Noah dancing. Happy New Year.